The Judicial Service Commission will today hold its final day of interviews to fill the vacancies in the judiciary. Today we'll see the JSC interview prospective candidates to fill 4 vacancies in the Mpumalanga and Western Cape divisions of the High Court. The rerun of the interviews was forced by a court application by the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution after April's questioning of candidates descended into what they called politicking. Joining me now is researcher at Judges Matter, Mr. Mbekezeli Benjamin. Mr. Benjamin, thank you for your time today. Looking at the process second time round as it unfolds with the interviews with the Judicial Services Commission, is there a marked difference between what we're seeing now, the line of questioning, how we're seeing the entire process unfold? Does it differ at all from the April proceedings?
Good afternoon, Tammy, and good afternoon to the viewers. The JSC that we've seen this week is a marked improvement from the JSC we saw in April. The JSC seems to be much more focused on its task. The questions that have been posed to the candidates seem to be focused on getting the best qualities of a judge. And so in that respect, that has been an improvement. The dignity and tone of the questions and the environment in the JSC also seems to be a little bit more respectful, more dignified than we've seen in the past.
Now, we see certain judges, Judge Kolopin, Judge Matopo, Mulemela, Catherine Silitwane and Vali, those names will be forwarded to President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he will be selecting 2 to fill vacancies at the Apex Court. What do you believe was extraordinary about these candidates? What stood out with them?
I think the most common thing in the names that you've listed is all of them have immense judicial experience. Many of them have been judges for a number of years, well over 10 years. And so in that respect, all of them qualify for the Constitutional Court post. One name that seemed to have been excluded from the list and which deserved to be on the list is that of Judge David Unterhalter. Many lawyers and many in the legal profession agree that he is head and shoulders above qualified to be on the Constitutional Court, and so that omission has raised a lot of criticism of the JSC.
With that said, and with that in mind, what do you believe are the factors that could have contributed to his exclusion?
It's difficult to say because the JSC does not publish its deliberations or the factors that it considers when it decides on the list to send to the president. But what came out during his interview is the question of his involvement in the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. There seems to be some discomfort among some commissioners that he seems to have participated in an organization that has a Zionist stance. And so that was one concern. And then there was the other concern about him being a white male, because Commissioner Malema, for example, asked him why should he be appointed above black or Indian women judges who are also deserving of that. So it's difficult to pinpoint one reason, but there are a number of factors that came up during that interview.
If that is indeed the case, does this not throw a shadow and take us back to April? You'll remember there was a time when a leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, spoke about previous judgments that judges had made that were unsavory or unsatisfactory to him, or that has a smack of racism or injustice. And those were oftentimes used as reasons why to probably, discredit some of the judges and to have them eliminated from the process. How does that argument factor into the situation that we find ourselves in now?
Well, we think one weakness of the JSC's process is that it does not set out a criteria by which the commissioners assess the fitness of the candidates. So in the absence of a criteria, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly which issues are relevant and which are not when it comes to the consideration. And so when one question that was raised in April was the issue of race and how race should be factored in this. And it was raised without nuance, and which is what why the criteria is so essential, because if they could nuance those questions, at least we could link them to some sort of standard. And so in this round, similar questions were raised, but I think there was a little bit more effort this time around to try and link some of the issues to a much more relevance of someone to be a judge. And so that is the difference between the two. But of course, we still have our own questions about what the JSC considers when deciding on judges.
And your view on Judge Dotson?
Well, Judge Dotson, or Advocate Dotson, I should say, is an excellent lawyer. Yes, he's an excellent lawyer with lots of experience in land law. He would ordinarily be a shoe-in for the Constitutional Court. But of course, he was competing in a tough round, and if there were 5 names, perhaps there were stronger candidates above him, although it doesn't take anything away from him being an excellent lawyer.
We see Adaya Pillay. She didn't make it through the rounds in April, but she also did not present herself as a possible candidate this time around. Did she stand a good chance, do you think, with the new tone of the hearings, as you have put it?
I think she absolutely would. Judge Pillay has been a judge for 20 years. She recently completed a doctorate in law. She's written some seminal judgments which have not only impacted her scope of expertise, which is labor law, but have gone broader to discuss constitutional issues, defamation, law of delict. And so she is qualified to be on the Constitutional Court. And well, from what we've seen this week, the JSC seem to have turned a corner, and her chances of getting through in the next round are more than likely, I think.
What then is the way forward, today being the last day of these interviews?
Well, today is still a long day. They're still going to interview the Western Cape vacancies. They're busy with Mpumalanga now. But the one big task that the JSC still has before it closes the year is the interviews for the Chief Justice. It is a competitive round. There are really strong candidates. And so it would be interesting how to compare what we saw of the JSC this week with what will happen when they interview the Chief Justice. And so that's something that we can look forward to.
Mr. Benjamin, thank you very much for your time and your insight this afternoon.